Well, for anybody that was curious of whether or not he'd make it happen, if you go to Ken Penders' Twitter/X page, one of his recent uploads there or postings is him getting the pre-orders in for his Lara-Su Chronicles book, and he has the actual book. And when he opens it up, it shows, I guess you could say, reprinted pages from the first initial Mobius years later. And we're talking, it's got Lara-Su in there, Knuckles in there, it's got Sally in there, it's got Sonic in there. So yeah, he found a way to make it happen, to make, this book a reality, this prelude, I guess you could call it, to what he has planned. But now the question is, will he be able to get it off the ground? A lot of people are looking at that and they're saying, there is no way whatsoever he's going to be able to do that because he doesn't have Sega's consent. Sally belongs to Sega, Sonic belongs to Sega, to an extent, whether he wants to agree with it or not. Lara-Su and Knuckles belong to Sega. Well, Knuckles does, but Lara-Su belongs to Sega. Lara-Su belongs to Sega. Rhoda, the Chaotix that are in there, they all belong to Sega. Now, one could say that his argument, if Sega stops him from publishing it, one could say his argument is, well, these are not the characters that we know and love, that these are futuristic versions, these are alternate versions, these are versions that he created himself. And that might be true. That might be true, that he could use that as a valid argument. But still, if you're referring to them as Sonic, or you're referring to them as Sally, and so on, that kind of blows up in anybody's face, trying to basically say, hey, we have the right to do this, because in all honesty, they don't. So Ken Penders really has to be careful about what he does here. He really has to be careful. Now, you might say, well, he's already being careful because he's planning to just give out copies at San Diego Comic-Con and so on, and by mail. He's not going to fully publish it and everything because he knows, he could end up facing a lawsuit, at the end of the day. And that might be true. That might be very true. But even if he tries to be careful, Sega is very, I guess you could say, very studious when it comes to wanting to protect their IPs. And true, they might be a little bit more lenient with Sonic nowadays, depending on who you talk to. But the truth of the matter is, what Ken Penders is doing here is basically infringing on their property without their consent. Yes, these are his stories he created. Yes, this is his mini-series that he created of a potential future, if not, in his opinion, the future of, the original Archie book. But the thing is, he could still be looked at as infringing on IPs that don't belong to him. And if that happens, it could barrel down on him in a way that it would cause a domino effect that could result in potentially the courts finding out, hey, you lied to us the first time around, and you don't really own Lara-Su. You don't really own Hershey the cat. You don't own Joffrey St. John and so on and so forth like you say you do. No, those characters belong to Sega, actually. They belong to Archie, actually. You don't have no right, no dominion over them. So, so no matter how you look at how Ken Penders is going to do this, how he's going to release this to the public, the fact of the matter is, he might have just basically put himself into a situation, whether he tries to be careful or not, he just possibly just put himself into a situation to where he's pretty much going to probably end up in court again if he's not careful. And what I mean by that is he could be looking potentially, at losing what he, gained, long ago, even if, very untruthfully. he can end up losing, you know, what he gained. And that wouldn't be good for him. That wouldn't be good for him or anybody working with him. You know, and it could cause him to get a bad rep. It really could. It could cause him to get a bad rep, and nobody, you know, in the comic book industry or entertainment industry may want to work with him. Now, I'm not saying he may face those kind of consequences, but he's probably more than likely going to have to end up giving up a lot of what he, you know, fought for and gained, you know, many years ago. And by doing so, you know, he's probably going to have to come out and admit that, yeah, maybe he did lie, or in fact he did lie. He did, you know, hide certain information, because basically all he wanted was his royalties. And if that's it, then fine. That's all the courts may have to hear, to be like, okay, fine, we'll make sure you get your royalties, but you give those characters back to Sega, you give them back to Archie, and by extension now IDW, and, you know, go your own merry way, and, you know, make this Lara-Su Chronicles, or whatever you're going to call it, something entirely different that has nothing to do with these characters, because you have no true ownership over them. But yeah, when you get down to it, he actually got in, like I said, you know, actual copies, pre-orders, if you will, of the Lara-Su Chronicles book. And it has reprinted pages from the initial Mobius Years Later storyline. So it's going to be really interesting, like I said, excuse me, how he gets this out into the hands of the public, whether he does it exclusively through Comic-Con, mail by orders, or whatever. It's going to be really interesting to see how he does it, and what the after effect, the aftermath, I should say, will be going into the rest of this year. Because he's planning to release this somewhat, in the summer? You know, if not in the next month or two. So it's going to be, you know, something to pay attention to as, you know, time goes on. It's going to be interesting to see exactly, you know, where this leads towards. And what I'm afraid is going to happen with Ken Penders is he's going to probably end up in court again, because Sega's going to get wind of this. They're going to see that, hey, this has our characters in there, you know, he's infringing on our IP, you know, and he didn't get our consent for it. So they're probably going to end up taking him to court. And what could happen as a result is he could end up losing everything, because the truth will come out. Because believe it or not, in case you guys don't know, over the past several years, more information through those that have been doing some extensive investigating and digging, more information has come out that potentially, if not exactly, you know, and actually, that Ken Penders lied, you know, about, you know, having full ownership over the characters, which, you know, he claims are his and his alone, and in reality, that's all false. And it's, you know, and it's something that when the opportunity could present itself, which could be because of this release, because of this Lara-Su Chronicles prequel book, you know, when it presents itself in court, could be his undoing, and he could lose those characters. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see where the road leads here. But he does have the pre-orders in his hand now. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below, and I will talk to you later.